Are the Seahawks going to be feeling the need for Shaheed in a rematch against the Cardinals?
Can Jacoby Brissett revive the Arizona Cardinals season?
We're going to find out here on round 2 of Crossover Thursday. Locked on Seahawks, Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Greetings, 12s and Cardinals fans. It's time for round 2, Crossover Thursday, Locked on Seahawks, Locked on Cardinals. I'm Corbin Smith, host of the Locked on Seahawks podcast. He's Alex Clancy, host of Locked on Cardinals. It's crazy to think that it's been almost 2 months since the last time that we got together. That game doesn't seem like it was that long ago, Thursday night, week 4 in Glendale. Rematch coming up at Lumen Field, and we're going to be diving into everything you need to know heading into this key matchup. The Cardinals trying to climb back into at least the wild card discussion. Seattle's trying to hunt for that number 1 seed along with the top dog number in the NFC West. So plenty at stake for both teams. We'll be breaking down the matchups, keys to victory, new quarterback in Arizona, new speedy target for Sam Darnold. We got tons of fun stuff to discuss, and it's all brought to you courtesy of our friends over at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Alex, man, every time we get together, it's an absolute blast when we have Locked on Seahawks, Locked on Cardinals, and it feels like a lot of times we have very similar discussion points. I feel like the last 3 or 4 shows we've had, like, is Kyler Murray reaching the end of the line? It feels like that's been a very consistent discussion point. So I'm going to ask you, have we reached the end of that line? Kyler Murray going on injured reserve yesterday. He's out for 4 more games minimum. Jacoby Brissett has been dramatically better both on film and statistically in the 3 starts that he's had. Eye test, he just looks like he's managing that offense, and their guys are getting the football, and just seems like they are playing much better football on offense. The entire team's responded to it, and Kyler Murray's got that massive contract. Like, have we reached a Derek Carr in Vegas or Russell Wilson in Denver type situation where eventually it becomes, oh, I'm healthy now, but go away, Kyler? It feels like we might kind of be there.
Yeah, and it sucks because it's like, here's the thing. Including the Seattle game, where the Cardinals' offense was anemic for 3 2/5 quarters, and then decided to put up 20 points, I think, in the 4th. I know it's been a while. Maybe it was 17 points, whatever, to tie that game. The Cardinals could have been 5-0 with Kyler Murray. Should have been, potentially, maybe 4-1 with the Seattle game, and Tennessee the next week. Like, that's the weird sticking point where it's like the 5 games they've lost, combined 13 points, 3 of which were Kyler Murray quarterbacking and Jacoby Brissett, 2 against 2 of the best teams in football with Indy and Green Bay. But listen, the offense, even if you're walking past an old school TV shop that just has a bunch of TVs in the thing and all the TVs are on from the 90s, and you glance with one eye at the Cardinals one time, you could see the difference between Jacoby Brissett and Kyler Murray with this offense. It's not even close. It's not even close. And for those that are watching on YouTube, Corbin put together a great graphic. 25.6 points with Jacoby Brissett, just over 20 with Kyler, 2 and 3 for Kyler, 1 and 2 for Jacoby, but 6 touchdowns for both of them, 1 interception in half as many games, or, 3 instead of 5. Like, here's the thing. Jacoby Brissett's a dude, man. Like, if Sam Darnold can do it and Daniel Jones can do it, why couldn't Jacoby Brissett do it in a different situation with an offense that fits him to a T, it seems?
Yeah, that's really interesting with all the quarterbacks that are playing well that maybe didn't in the past. And you look at what Geno Smith's doing in Vegas away from Seattle and being on a team that doesn't have the talent and doesn't have the line. And look, I'm going to continue to be a Geno defender because I still think if Geno Smith was quarterbacking this team that Sam Darnold's quarterbacking, I wouldn't be shocked if Seattle's 6-2 or 7-1 with Geno Smith under center, because I thought this offense was great for him. So you make a very good argument when it comes to Jacoby Brissett, but like as an outsider, like I've watched quite a bit of these last couple of games that he has played, and the thing that jumps out to me is how much more of the field opposing defenses have to defend with Jacoby Brissett. And I talked about it on our Wednesday show, and we were looking at some of the key matchups and diving into some statistical oddities and things. And just like the linebackers for Seattle, regardless of who's playing in this game, if Ernest Jones is healthy enough to play or not, it doesn't matter. Whoever is out there on the field, this is a much different game in terms of how you're going to be game planning, because Jacoby Brissett, he is built for that West Coast style, attack the middle, dig routes, crossers, get those out routes. Like, he's built for that West Coast style offense. Kyler Murray can't do that because of his height limitations. Like, that's not his game. He is an outside the numbers, air it out, dump it off type guy. Jacoby Brissett is going to stand tall in that pocket, and he's going to attack the middle of the field. And with the targets the Cardinals have, those guys are getting better opportunities. So, like, as somebody that is covering another team in the division and watching this, I'm like, Mike McDonald's going to have something else cooking defensively to be prepared for that. And not that I don't have confidence McDonald can do that, because I absolutely do. But I just feel like Arizona, even though they're 1-2 in those 3 starts, those 2 losses were to really good teams. They had a chance to win both of them because of Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, that's right.
I just feel like Arizona just looks like they are clicking much better as a football team with him.
It's the depth of targets, Corbin. It's the depth of targets. Like, Jacoby Brissett's thrown the ball 45 times on average a game. He threw less in this past game because they were winning and they salted the game away in the fourth, which is bananas to think. But Kyler Murray, when he was throwing the ball 35 times, the depth of target was 5 yards and in on average. This is hitting Marvin Harrison Jr. in the hands on a deep crossing route. Trey McBride for the touchdown, the easiest touchdown he's ever had last week. Deep out into the end zone, into the right in front of the shallow pylon. Marvin Harrison Jr., the timing route where he juked Deron Bland out of his shoes like he was a member of the Toy Story movie when the kids would walk in. Like, this was it's unbelievably different. And Corbin, this is it. This is the number. 19 total targets for Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. You very well know that even when it was DK and Tyler Lockett, it doesn't matter if they know where the ball is going. They were open for the ball, more Tyler Lockett, and definitely JSN now. That's what we're starting to see with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. They're always open because Jacoby Brissett is either able to throw them open, or he's able to stand in the pocket long enough to where coverage breaks down. And those were foreign objects, foreign things when Kyler Murray was here for the most part.
Yeah, it really does. And everything that you're saying is what I'm seeing watching from the outside. It just, and look, body language matters, man. I'm telling you, Jacoby Brissett has always had that working for him. Every team he's been on, when he was with Cleveland, guys talk about, like, I want to play with that guy because he has the body language. He has the demeanor, and he has the lowest interception rate of any active quarterback that has the qualified number of throws, 1.3%. Like, now he's had his issues with fumbling the football when he gets hit in his career. That has been a big thing. And
that's true.
I know Seattle's defensive line in particular is thinking, we don't have to worry as much about, the guy getting outside the jitterbug action. So it's a trade-off type thing. And man, I am just, I don't know. There's more excitement about this game there has been, just because, like, I'm going to be honest, it just felt like, even with the way that game ended the last time, it just has felt like Seattle, no matter what, is going to find a way to get it done because Kyler just doesn't scare them. I feel like in this matchup, Seattle's like they can do more with their offense than what they were doing with Kyler. It's going to put more stress on us. Now, Seattle's more healthier on defense. That's certainly going to help, but I'm excited to see this because it feels like the Cardinals are playing really good football, that their coaches and their players are in sync more. The Seahawks are obviously playing outstanding football right now too. So this has a chance to be a different Seahawks-Cardinals matchup than we're accustomed to, where a lot of times it's kind of that messy game. I have a feeling this could actually be a game where both teams throw some haymakers at each other, and it ends up being kind of a fun matchup on Sunday afternoon.
I mean, and we're going to get into the matchups here, obviously, in the next segment, but, like, you look at both these defenses. If you told me this game was 13-9, be like, okay. If you told me this game was in the mid-20s, cool. I don't see this being – I see the haymakers, as you mentioned, being a couple deep balls that distinguish a win or a loss, those who connect on it, those who can't, things like that. Especially because you're right, Jacoby Brissett uses the whole field, which is something that, Mike McDonald's going to have to decipher. But, like, with JSN – the cornerbacks, which, again, we'll talk about, like, this young defense is ready to rip. And I think you saw that against Dallas, where they, gave up 10 points to a 30.8 points per game team. The only team that scores more points is Seattle. So this is going to be the biggest test for them, in this season of a potential turnaround.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive into the matchups because there's a bunch of interesting ones. And this is a Cardinals team that's got a lot of healthy players that were not active in that first matchup that I was high on in the draft process. Some really good young players. We're going to be diving into all that coming up next year as we continue our crossover Thursday here on Locked On Podcast Network. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's why there's Mizzen & Main. Mizzen & Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they've perfected it ever since. Their shirts are stretchy, moisture-wicking, wrinkle-resistant, and machine-washable. No ironing, no dry cleaning. I love that you can go from the office to dinner or even out on the golf course and still feel comfortable all day. It's the feel of athletic wear, but the look of professional menswear. Right now, Mizzen & Main is offering listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with the promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N and Main, M-A-I-N.com. Promo code LOCKEDNFL20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen & Main stores in select states. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means you get to cash in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing Prize Picks a ton lately. It's so much fun. It's a great way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. I love checking out the projections, whether it's Sam Darnold with more or less than 270 passing yards, or if you're looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. for one or more or less than one receiving touchdown. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's the code LOCKEDNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Welcome back to Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Corbin Smith, Locked On Seahawks. He's Alex Clancy. Locked On Cardinals, round 2, Seattle versus Arizona coming up on Sunday at Lumen Field. And it's interesting. I said this in the first segment too, when we're pertaining to Kyler Murray. It seems like obviously rivals, each other better than other teams, but it does feel like there's just been kind of a staleness. It's like, well, Cardinals and Seahawks getting together. Kyler Murray is going to do this, try to do that. The Seahawks are going to defend him this way. Seahawks are going to attack the Cardinals defense this way. But there are a number of pieces that have changed in this game, and it isn't just Jacoby Brissett. The defense for the Cardinals, they didn't have Will Johnson in the first matchup, dealing with a knee injury. They didn't have Walter Nolan, one of my favorite prospects in this 2025 draft class. He returned last week, and Dallas figured out quickly that there was a different dude on the field that they were having to try to block. So you've got those two guys. Garrett Williams is playing. I mean, this is a much different defense with a number of healthy players, including impact rookies. And in particular for me, as a Seahawk reporter, just looking at it from a analysis-based perspective and watching the film, Anthony Bradford in particular going up against Walter Nolan absolutely terrifies me, because that has been the one spot that has been a weakness for the Seahawks still on a much improved offensive line. Gray Zabel has yet to give up a sack. He's largely been everything advertised. Jalen Sundell maybe isn't flashy, but he hasn't given up a sack. He's done some really good things out there. Anthony Bradford has still been in that weak spot, and his biggest issue is guys that are quick and can change direction, rip off blocks fast. Oh, by the way, Walter Nolan, those are all strengths for Walter Nolan. That's his game. So that is something they did not have to deal with last game, and you add all the other pieces they have there, Alex, that absolutely terrifies me coming into this game.
Yeah, this is what the entire offseason, this is what the final meal was supposed to look like. All the money, all the draft capital, all of it, except for Hayden Conner, was a 6th round offensive lineman out of Texas, who isn't with the team anymore. Every single pick went to the defense. All of the money outside of extending Trey McBride and James Conner went to the defense. So when you have Garrett Williams, who's one of the probably could be looked at as the most underrated corner in football. He was highly rated last year. He went down. He thought it was an ACL. The fact that he's back is crazy. Will Johnson is the highest rated defensive player in the draft this year so far. When you have the vets like Budda Baker, and then you have Calais Campbell and Dalvin Tomlinson for Walter Nolan up front. You have Josh Sweat off the edge, who now can run a little bit more free because the Cardinals seem to be getting a lot more interior pressure, at least through 1 week. Like, there's not a weakness on this defense. And I don't say that lightly. Mac Wilson's played great. Keem Davis-Gaithers played well. Cody Simon, 4th-round pick out of Ohio State, who was a defensive MVP of the national championship game 2 years ago. Like, this defense is legitimate. This defense can be recession-proof when you have the corners that they do, the DBs that they do, and now the pressure on the interior that they do. Like, this is a real-deal defense with rookies who are ready to play immediately, which is a wild concept, especially on the defensive side of the ball right away.
And meanwhile, the Seahawks, look, they've got some rookies that are ready to play too on the offensive side of the football. And look, Arizona, as I said, Will Johnson being back, Garrett Williams being back, having Max Melton out there, they've got the pieces in the secondary. At the same time, the Seattle Seahawks are saying, hey, look, we played Derek Stingley and Kwame Lassiter and a few of those guys in Houston a few weeks ago, and you know what? They couldn't stop us anyway. Like, Seattle's looking at that receiving core, and then they're like, you know what? We're going to go make it better. Let's go bring in Rashid Shaheed, who was on pace for 1,000 receiving yards in Clint Kubiak's offense in New Orleans last year before he got hurt in week 6. He was averaging 18 yards per reception, 3 touchdowns of over 40 yards through the air. And now you get to tag team him with Jackson Smith-Njigba. And oh, by the way, Torrey Horton has got 5 touchdowns as a rookie. So this is another one. This is why I'm so excited about this matchup, this game in general, though. Arizona's hey, we're really happy about the corners that we've got now. This secondary, Seattle's all right, well, let's see how good they are because we like the guys we have on the outside. God, we call it get your popcorn ready matchups on Locked On Seahawks. This is one you get your popcorn ready and you go back and get second and thirds with extra butter because I just think this is going to be so much fun seeing all the resources that both these teams have poured into these two sides and how prolific Seattle's passing game has been regardless of who they played. Arizona's feeling really good about slowing down passing offenses. Something's got to give.
It's going to be so fun. So, the DBs, they fared pretty well against CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens this past week, even in a pass-heavy script for Dallas down the stretch. Had 3 turnovers, should have had 5. Mac Wilson dropped an interception, and there was they forced a fumble on George Pickens. They didn't recover. But for me, the thing that terrifies me most, while it should be JSN, it's not. It's Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. The majority of it is Leonard Williams. When he does sneak out to the outside, he puts his hand in the dirt. He's not all the way on the interior. The right side of the offensive line is a real problem. Jonah Williams is a liability. Kelvin Beachum is older. He's a better option, but he's not starting. Tip Ryman, who was a 3rd-round pick, a blocking tight end. He got a lot of crap. Montesor got a lot of crap for that pick. They miss him dearly, being able to chip more than a running back can chip when you've got somebody flying around the edge. The right side of the offensive line will be the Achilles heel for the Cardinals if they can't, block for at least 2 seconds to be able to give Jacoby Brissett the time to throw the ball. It's going to be really problematic. And I have a feeling you're going to tell me that is something that the Seattle Seahawks are well equipped to exploit.
They are. And look, they are fully healthy at the edge rusher positions. DeMarcus Lawrence missed most of that Thursday night game. He got hurt late in the first quarter, but they've got the dogs. They are the number 1 pressuring team in the NFL, rushing 4 for a reason. And they can rotate dudes in there and just keep getting after you. And so Mike McDonald is an expert at finding we always used to say when offensive game planning when I was coaching, you're looking for the rat. Mike McDonald is so good at finding the area that is the rat. And in this case, he's going to say, oh, that right side of the line, and you don't have your tight end that can chip. Okay, overload time. Here we go. And he'll bring some blitzes. They haven't blitzed a ton because they haven't needed to, but when they do, they are absolutely lethal. And this is where I think is going to be a difference maker for Seattle in this football game. Seattle had a lot of guys that were out in that first matchup too. I think that is worth noting. Seattle had a really banged up secondary. They still don't have Julian Love back. but Nick Eamon-Warry was not playing in that game. And Nick Eamon-Warry has been an absolute monster since he came back from his ankle sprain. And Seattle is using him in the slot because he's 4.32 speed. You can put him against speedy receivers and guard him. He can go up against Trey McBride. And Trey McBride probably hasn't seen a 6'4", 230-pound safety that runs a 4.3 that can cover. So part of the reason they wanted him so bad is for matchups like this, going against Kittle, going against McBride. NFC West got some stud tight ends. That's one of the reasons they brought him in. And oh, by the way, the guy the other night against the Commanders, he made a tackle on Deebo Samuel with one arm while he was engaged in a block with his other arm. Like, who does that?
That's insane.
Like, he is a specimen. He is a special football player. So Seattle's feeling the same way on their defense. They're like, yeah, you've got some fun rookies, but like Nick Eamon-Warry, we think Nick Eamon-Warry should have been a mid-first round pick. We almost picked him instead of Grace Abel because we loved him so much. And he is playing to that level now. So, again, I'm just fascinated to see because McBride is a player that I think is incredible. But Seattle has not had a guy like that they can match up against him. And Devin Witherspoon is not going to be playing at 50%. He's healthy now. And so the matchups here, it feels like two teams that there's a lot of things that could go either way just because of the talent and both teams being healthier. But you just have so many new faces added to this compared to week 4 that makes it so fascinating, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, and obviously we'll get to the keys to victory here in a second, but like this is, and I don't do predictions. I think they're not dumb. I just think that, you talk about what you think is going to happen. And when you do a show, it's pretty obvious where you think the game's going to go. I have no idea. These are games that the teams that aren't supposed to win in this matchup predominantly because Seattle's been so much better than the Cardinals. This is where the Cardinals go to Seattle and get a win when they're not supposed to. The Chandler Jones years, all that stuff. It kind of has that weird thing. I'm not saying that's going to happen. What I'm saying is the Cardinals are well equipped to go up against one of the best teams in football on both sides of the ball. And it's just a matter of if they can have a couple balls bounce their way and stop
I told you this before we recorded, Alex. They scare me a lot more without Kyler Murray in their center. I'm just being brutally honest. And again, it's not just what he's doing, throwing the football, because that's obviously made a big difference. But it just seems like the team is following the dude. They love him. They are playing hard for him. It feels like when Russell Wilson got benched by Sean Payton. It feels like when Derek Carr got benched in Vegas. It just feels like we got another guy on the team. We're just going to let him run it out for the rest of the year. And we're winning. We're much more competitive. We're playing really good football against good football teams. If Jacoby Brissett comes up to Seattle and wins against a Seahawks team that's been as good as anybody the last month and a half, if he does that, that puts the dagger in the coffin to me. If there's any sliver of hope for Kyler Murray, it is dead at that point. That's how big this game is for Jacoby Brissett and really for what the future of the Arizona Cardinals is going to be. So there's a lot riding on this. And keep that in mind. We're going to get to our keys to victory going into this game that could go back and forth. That's going to be coming up next year. Crossover Thursday, Locked On Seahawks, Locked On Cardinals. The NFL season's well underway. Honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But trying to get tickets, that can be an absolute hassle, whether it's login screens, prices jumping $50 at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, it's easy, and it's backed by the Game Time guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. I pull up on Game Time, and in a couple taps, I get amazing deals. We're talking tickets to your favorite NFL games as low as $80, $90. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals too. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought sports tickets in the past. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's the promo code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Entering the final stretch run here, Locked On Crossover Thursday, Locked On Seahawks, Locked On Cardinals. I'm Corbin Smith, host of the Locked On Seahawks podcast. He's Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. And even though we are doing podcasts for NFC West rivals, we always have an absolute blast when we get Locked On Seahawks and Locked On Cardinals together. And Now we get to dive into the keys to victory or keys to success. Maybe you don't want to give away your predictions, so to speak, but the keys for the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks coming into this game. And I'm going to pick your brain first. Let's talk about Jacoby Brissett and this Arizona Cardinals offense, because as we've discussed earlier, it is a different offense in the way they are going to attack the Seahawks with Jacoby Brissett playing that position. But looking at this tough task going to Seattle against a hot Seahawks team, what do you think the Cardinals need to do offensively to be able to come to the Pacific Northwest and pull off one of those classic upsets that they have done in the past at Lumen Field?
Keep Jacoby Brissett standing. Keep him off the turf. Keep him off the ground. Because here's the thing. His depth, again, as I mentioned, his depth of target is considerably deeper than with Kyler Murray. So it's not these quick passes. With that said, they've got to implement a little quick pass action to be able to keep him upright and not have to worry about screaming around the edge, whoever it's going to be. Just keeping the ball moving, but it doesn't always have to be 7 or 10, 15, 20 yards down the field. The short to intermediate space in the middle of the field needs to be exploited, and they've got the perfect skill set of guys to do it. It's not just Marvin, it's not just Trey. Michael Wilson is a very underrated receiver in this league who just hasn't gotten the targets because the offense was sputtering. Greg Dortch is an electric game changer. When he gets the ball in his hands, he doesn't need much space. That's it. It's him not holding onto the ball as long by changing the plays from time to time where you can get that quick release, the quick slants, things like that to get positive yardage and not let the pass rush get home.
And I'm going to counter from a Seahawks defensive perspective here. Mike Macdonald this season has not had to blitz much. As I mentioned, they're near the bottom of the league in blitz rate, and I didn't expect them to come out and blitz Jacoby Brissett 40% on Sunday. I'm not expecting that because he's a seasoned vet who has seen a lot of different looks. With that being said, with the issues Arizona has had on the right side of their line, in particular, missing some of the players like Tip Ryman who can help with their chipping and stuff.
Yep.
This is going to be a game where I think Mike Macdonald, especially against a quarterback that isn't a statue, but he isn't like a super mobile QB either. This is going to be a game where Mike Macdonald is going to put on that mad scientist cap a little bit, and he's going to say, okay, Arizona, we think we can win with our front four, but can you handle Nick Emanwari, Devin Witherspoon? And I'm going to throw a name out here that Cardinals fans maybe aren't too familiar with, but Drake Thomas, man. Drake Thomas is playing great football the last 4 or 5 games for Seattle, and he is an outstanding blitzer from the linebacker position. I think Mike Macdonald is going to be a little bit more aggressive, not like he's suddenly going to turn into the Blitzburg Steelers or anything, but I think he is going to be a little more aggressive to try to speed that clock up a little bit for Jacoby Brissett, because as we mentioned earlier, the interceptions haven't been a problem, but one of the reasons Jacoby Brissett has not lasted as a starter in this league at multiple stops is because of fumbles and getting sacked and having issues holding on to the football. If Seattle can accelerate that clock a little bit, and they might be able to do that consistently with just their front four. They've been doing that this year. But I have a feeling that this is going to be a game that Devin Witherspoon being fully healthy, and Arizona hasn't seen Nick Emanwari yet. That is a team T1000 in a football uniform. Like, this is going to be the first time they've seen that. So I'm really curious how Arizona handles that, because I have a feeling, even if it's not blitzes and it's sim pressures, Mike Macdonald is going to do some things to try to speed that clock up a little bit early. And if Seattle can get a lead and they're able to sick those guys on Jacoby Brissett, then that makes it harder for them to run the offense that excels with what Brissett has done this year.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. And I mean, when push comes to shove, and Sam Darnold's been elite for the last year and then half of this year so far. Sam Darnold, when pressured, has had a proclivity in his life as an NFL player to throw some bad balls. I'm not saying he's done it lately because he's been great. He's matured into this graduation level that nobody really ever thought existed. If you did, after seeing him for the first handful of years, you're lying to yourself and to me. Don't be a liar, okay? Like Jacoby Brissett, same kind of thing. Getting pressure on the quarterback, as you mentioned, is the best way to force turnovers. It's usually the only way, unless there's, in open field, strip sack, peanut punch, whatever it is. Who wins the turnover battle? If this game is probably 65-35 Seahawks, I would think around there, 62-38, something like that, turnovers can flip that very, very quickly. Doesn't matter if it's special teams. It doesn't matter if it's, just a drop ball or if it's getting pressure on the quarterback and making him make a bad throw. Turnovers in a game like this will tell the story at the end of the game. If there's no turnovers on either side, you got to give Seattle the nod. If Cardinals turn Seattle over twice and Seattle doesn't turn the Cardinals over at all, we're having a completely different conversation. Added possessions in games like this are what make or break and what allows an inferior opponent to win games if they can win that turnover battle.
Yeah, and I think that's been maybe the biggest issue that Seattle has had to deal with in the couple of losses that they've had. They have had too many turnovers. I mean, and even the win over Houston, they had 4 turnovers in that game.
Gross game.
And they still put up 27 points on the number 1 scoring defense. And that tells you what Sam Darnold's been doing. Like, even if he makes a few mistakes, it's like, oh, well, I'm calm, cool, collected. I'm going to go out and throw a 70-yard bomb to JSN. Like, that's what he's been doing all year. And the biggest difference with him from this year to last year in Minnesota, I've made this joke, and now that Halloween's passed, it's probably not funny anymore, but I keep saying it because I think it's funny. He used to talk about seeing ghosts. Now he's a ghost buster. The dude when pressure comes after him, he doesn't blink. Like, he's thrown 4 or 5 touchdowns this year while he was getting blasted, and he's made perfect throws. Like,
I think one was against the Cardinals. Yeah.
He's turned a new leaf, and he's just a different dude, and he's playing with so much confidence. But I look at this game for Seattle. We can talk turnovers. That's always big in every game.
Yeah. Seattle's
best game running the football this year, I can't believe I'm saying it because Arizona's run defense is pretty darn good, but Seattle ran the football really well in that game on Thursday Night Football. And they have been so up and down. Like, they're in the top 10 in the league in explosive runs, in rushing touchdowns, but they're number 1 in negative rushes. Like, they have been at both ends of the spectrum. There's been no mid-ground. And they're trying to find more consistency with that run game. But I think for Seattle to win this game, especially with some of the new players that are healthy for Arizona, I don't think you're going to be able to just wing the ball over the field. Like, they're going to have to run the football effectively again the way they did. And I think that Rashid Shaheed fits into that too, mixing in a couple of end arounds or jet sweeps to try to get the Cardinals playing more horizontal and then start to attack the middle, because that's what they did against Arizona that first matchup, and it worked really well. They were then able to start getting the passing game humming. So this is a game that they absolutely – and look, they got to do this. If they want to be a Super Bowl contender, which they believe they can be, the run game's got to be better than what it has been. It doesn't need to be a top 5 run game, but they need to be better than they have been to this point with wild inconsistency. This is a game that they can take a positive step forward, and if they don't, and Arizona can make him one-dimensional, even as great as Sam Darnold has played, as great as the O-line has played protecting him, like, Arizona's got the horses to turn that narrative upside down in this game. Yeah. So I think running the football for Seattle and being effective enough, keep those heavy boxes coming so they can take their shots. That has been the recipe that teams just haven't been able to figure out. And that's a scary thing. If Seattle starts running the ball better, what are you going to do? Pick your own poison type thing. This is the game where you can take that step forward in that run game. And I think you're going to have to be able to handle Arizona's talented defense at all 3 levels.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, because all that's right, is luckily the Cardinals are playing Rashid Shaheed after Baker Mayfielding this playbook for 4 days like Baker did. Well, he did it like 2 with the Rams, but like, this is the best time to play Rashid Shaheed because he's not going to know the playbook. Like, he's not going to thrive until maybe next week, which is not a Cardinals.
And I'm going to push back on that, Alex, because he just talked today. Like, this offense, he played in it last year with Clint Kubiak in New Orleans.
Oh, that's right. Oh, so I stand corrected.
I don't expect that. I mean, they might not be able to play an entire game like with him, but he is going to know. He's going to know the bread and butter stuff.
I forgot about that.
So
I really forgot about that.
It's a very different. That doesn't happen very often. It's a very different scenario.
Yeah. No, that's weird. That's wild. And then the second thing is, as long as Zach Charbonnet's on the field, I'm comfortable playing against this run offense. I don't understand why we're shoving Zach Charbonnet down your throat unless it's like a Mike Tolbert roll inside the 10-yard line. Kenneth Walker is by far the more talented back. I don't understand it.
He's more talented. He drives you absolutely nuts, though, sometimes with his vision and not making his reads correct. Like, it drives, as a running back coach and running back myself, it drives. Like, if I had hair to pull out, I'd be pulling it out. He's incredibly talented. I agree with you. But it's just, I think Clint Kubiak is another coach has kind of had issues. So he's like, I know Zach Charbonnet is going to read his keys correctly. And the issue is they haven't used Charbonnet right a lot of this year. They've been doing a lot of pitch plays and stuff. And it's like, Dude, running between the tackles, that's where he's a monster.
Yeah.
He is a downhill battering ram. Like, you can run inside zone and split zone like a boss with him. But then we're going to run 3 straight sweeps, and 2 of them are going to be the short side of the field. What are you doing? So I understand what fans are frustrated about, but I can understand. I think Charbonnet is a better player than a lot of people realize, but they just don't maximize what he does.
Maybe
well.
that's what it is.
So it's just that run game. Like, if Seattle figures out that run game, this is an incredibly dangerous team going towards January. Like, they've got time to get it figured out, but they got to figure it out in this game, because I think if you're not running the football well, like I said, I just think Arizona, I fear them more with Jacoby Brissett than I do with Kyler Murray.
I don't know what the hell's going to happen, Corbin. That's hashtag analysis. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen.
I don't either. Like, I don't do my predictions till the Friday show, and like, I'm going to be staying up tonight. Like, who the hell's winning this game? Just because you've made some very compelling arguments to go with what I've seen in film. And I just, like I said, I just think this Cardinals team they're scarier to me without Kyler Murray under center. I don't fear them when number 1 is in there. Jacoby Brissett is running a competent offense that attacks the entire field. And a lot of times when you play Kyler Murray, it's like, well, this big chunk of the middle, I don't have to do crap here. Like, it really changes things. So this is going to be, I have a feeling this is going to be a barn burner on Sunday. I don't know who's going to win. You don't know who's going to win. We're going to have to, at some point, figure out who we think is going to win, at least for me, with my prediction segment on Friday. But as always, Alex, it's been a ton of fun. And there are a lot of new ingredients going into this rematch that I think Seahawks and Cardinals fans should be really excited to see. What I'm anticipating is going to be a very tight, hard-fought football game in the NFC West. He's Alex Clancy. I'm Corbin Smith. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Seahawks and Locked On Cardinals to listen to our Friday shows heading into this rematch as we continue to dive into everything you need to watch and everything you need to know for Sunday's Week 10 battle at Lumen Field. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Go Hawks and go Cardinals.